hard for me. I understand. I completely respect your opinion, but it's hard for me as, a black woman being a double minority.
Well, welcome back to the front lines, the streets. And it was a grueling weekend. A lot of people in town, a lot of good conversations. And I'm going to start off with a good one. Something that you wouldn't think, but it's a young black lady going to college in LA from Los Angeles. And curious about what I'm doing and the current state of things. One thing in her favor, she did say that she grew up in a conservative family, and now that she's going to college, she's gaining a mind of her own and turning more liberal. So I did my Uncle Sam best to try to go ahead and maybe put the brakes on that somewhat. Hopefully. But as I said, she's already starting off on a pretty good foot. I think she had a good upbringing. Certainly a polite young lady, certainly very smart. And she was asking good questions. She was a great listener. And hopefully I hit a chord. But she's up against a great deal, of course, going to a liberal college in LA. So all we can do is wish her well and pray for her that she doesn't get washed up in that crap. So I gave her a few things to look up. So, all the routine. If you like it, you like it. If you care, you share it. And if you haven't subscribed, do. And if you are subscribed, check out your subscriptions and make sure they haven't knocked you off. Hit the bell button. And I haven't got a shop up yet, so hell, if you want anything, just contact me. A couple of you did, and about, one of you about posters. If you need posters, I can send the posters. Still looking for a shop to send some shirts and whatnot. Hopefully I'll get around to that this week, but I'm a very busy boy. So anyway, God bless you. Thanks for stopping by, and keep praying for me out there. And I'll see you on the flip side of this one. See you soon. Hello there, young lady.
Hi, how are you?
Where are you guys from?
I'm from California.
What part?
Los Angeles.
I used to live on the beaches out there, most of Manhattan Beach.
Oh, you live there?
Yeah. Back in the day when I was a hippie.
Oh, you were a hippie?
Yeah.
If I can ask you, if you don't mind, what policies do you agree with, like, for Trump? Like, what policies? I see, like, you do a lot of, propaganda here, so, like, what policies? I mean, I come from a very conservative family, so I just like to ask.
Yeah. Well, I think he's trying to, in a general sense, he's trying to go ahead and he's more of a nationalist. In other words, he's trying to have a smaller government, which is more conservative. Because a smaller government, the more individual freedom we have. So that's always a good thing. Centralization always takes away from our freedoms. I think that's, in general, a good thing that he's fighting for.
Okay.
And are you with your family? Do you follow a more conservative trend?
No. Once I got to college, I started to kind of have my own views. So I'm more of in the middle. Yeah, I'm not like super conservative, super liberal, but I'm more in the middle. Like I agree with some stuff, but not everything.
I understand.
Especially as like a black woman.
Well, at least you're thinking you're not partisan one way or the other.
Right.
I mean, there are some things that he does I don't like that, I'm not a full-blown partisan person, in that sense. But I think it's interesting. I spoke to about a month ago, a philosophy professor from Los Angeles who was teaching at university out there. And I asked him, I says, well, it's a very liberal place out there. To
yeah, it is.
And I says, and how do you, your take, because you got into education. these were his words. It kind of blew me away. He says, today's teachers are basically crap. He says they teach a left-wing ideology, and they're not giving the kids the tools they need to think for themselves. So, and I see that happening. I mean, the schools tend to do that.
Do you usually get a lot of customers since you're being like,
absolutely,
very conservative state?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, 95% of my response is positive.
Positive?
Yeah,
Wow.
very positive. Which one are you looking at? This one here? Oh, this one, the mega hat? You want that one here? Wonderful. You gonna wear it?
I don't know. I'm going to have fun with it. I live in New York City, so I got to be careful. And I'm a professor, so I got to be careful.
Oh, are you really? What are you a professor of?
Businessman.
Oh, terrific. Terrific. I was just speaking to this young lady about a professor in L.A.
Yeah. So I was going to say, so I see that you said you don't agree with all of his policies, just some of them, which, okay, you're your own person, every candidate has its flaws, definitely. But what do you think about the stuff that he says, like, surrounding, like, women and, like, sexual assault? Like, regardless if that was true or not, like, do you agree with those terms? I mean, because we all have moral capacity and we're all human.
Well, I object to the whole bringing up the moral stuff. If you want to bring up moral stuff, you want to have that, all right, then let's also bring up Bill Clinton's rape convictions. Let's bring up, the whole 9 yards. The things that they bring up about Trump basically are...
But no, I'm sorry, not to cut you off, just the stuff that he says, not the stuff that liberals bring up, because we don't...
Yeah.
But the stuff that he actually, like, says. I know his rhetoric, he wants to get people riled up, and that's what people love. Yeah. But I'm saying some stuff, it's just... It shouldn't be said due to the fact that you are the president of the United States.
Yeah, well, one of the things he was like, always bring up is the grab the pussy thing, which he said 25 years ago. And that, to me, I look at it this way. What are you doing that's going to affect my life? If you're saying something like that, that doesn't affect my life. That doesn't affect policy. That doesn't affect anything. I mean, that's sort of like a non-substance style kind of a thing. But it's like, give me, are you going to lower my taxes? Are you going to secure the border? Are you going to give us jobs? Those are the things I'm caring about. What you might say or do in the past, or what something you say that really doesn't affect my life. I kind of put that on the back burner. That really doesn't seem to, why should that become a front issue? Let's look at the things that affect us. Those are the things I care.
Right. And it's hard for me. I understand. I completely respect your opinion, but it's hard for me as, a black woman being a double minority.
Yeah.
I'm college educated as well. So being a double minority, it's hard for me to, actually stand up for someone that does say stuff like that. And then also, I mean, the stuff they said about the black community.
Are you familiar with Candace Owens?
She actually came to our school. I think she's their token child. That's just me. Candace Owens, yeah, I just think she just gets paid great money.
I don't, again, why would you suffer the slings and arrows? I mean, for what money? I mean, how much money could you possibly want to have to suffer the slings and arrows that she gets?
Hey.
And she was once a liberal. She admitted, said, look, I was a liberal. Mm-hmm. But I started looking at some of the policies, and as I spoke out, I got trashed.
Right.
And then I said, wait a second. I'll give you another good example. Millie from Infowars.
Let me just tell you, Candace Owens, I don't respect her only because of the fact that she, like yourself, you said that you don't agree with all his policies. Now she just says, I agree, and that's one thing I can't respect.
I don't know. I've found her that there's some things she does not agree with. I've listened to her, and she has some things she doesn't agree with. Now, I'll give you another example. You want to look this lady up.
Okay, what lady?
It was about it was right after, it was just before Trump got elected. It was a black lady came along here. We started talking. She was brilliant. She actually stood here and gave a class to anybody to stop and listen on how Obama had screwed up the economy. And I said, oh, who are you? She goes, I'm Professor Iris Mack, physics, Harvard, mathematician, MIT, was recruited by Larry Summers to work on Wall Street with him.
Oh, wow.
And she found out what a crook he was. And so she blew the whistle on him. And they blackballed her. She came back and wrote a book called The Wall Street Bailout from Main Street. It became the #1 bestseller for wealth management. Now, she teaches at Tulane. She's written the last book that she wrote was, her specialty is energy trading. And her last book was a dictionary on energy trading. But she has a website called US that she has 4 of them. Highly recommend you listen to this woman. She is absolutely brilliant. She knows both sides of everything, but the fact that she's so analytical, she's a numbers woman.
Okay.
She's,
Facts.
Yes. That to me was, she's just, and she's a hardcore Christian, so she's like, she doesn't sway.
Okay.
She stays true.
Okay.
And so her name is Mack, M-A-C-K, Iris. I would look her up, listen to her, and again, she suffered because of her views.
Okay.
So I look at it this way: why would people go out of? It'd be easier to go along with the flow.
Right.
Like you say, you would probably suffer from some of the views you might have from being conservative.
Right.
You might. So why would someone do that? Why do people come out and tell the truth and suffer the slings and arrows of doing that? I think it's because you're being true to yourself. You want to remain true to yourself. You don't want to go with the flow and make it easy. So, I then you look at hashtag walk away. You've heard of that?
Well, they're walking away from the Democratic Party? That one?
Hashtag walk away. That was a gay liberal New Yorker who at the beginning, started listening to Trump. He said he said, look, Trump's saying a couple of things here I like. Boom! No, Nazi, fascist. No. I'm a gay liberal from New York. You know what? No. Kept on. How you doing? Kept on getting piled on, right? So he says, that's it. I'm done. Why I'm walking away from the Democratic Party. And then, of course, it exploded when he came out with that video because people said, yeah, I don't agree with infanticide. I don't agree with open borders. I don't agree with the stupid Green New Deal. That makes no sense. So, all these things that, the left is pushing so hard left on didn't make any. There were a lot of liberals out here going, I can't go there. I'm not that. I like steak. I like cars. I like flying on airplanes, So these things that they're pushing are all about collectivism. And it's all more about controlling us than it is anything else. Centralization and control. Because when I was in LA, I helped start the Institute for Environmental Alternatives with Professor Ron Cohn back in '71. This is, when it was called ecology. And I lived with scientists for 3 years and studied this stuff. And what we found out was that what we were finding out, we were afraid we were going to be infiltrated by government agents, right, who were going to use what we were finding out for their agenda. This is something else you want to look up, because this is the amount we've been lied to is insane. That's why, if you were to look up the history of weather and climate modification programs, you would see documentation going back to 1891 on government-private programs to control the climate and weather. We have them. Eisenhower started the Department of Weather and Climate Modification in '54. Ben Livingston took that and became known as the father of weather weapons. We used them in Vietnam. When that was found out, the UN passed the UN Weather Weapons Treaty banning the use of weather weapons. We don't ban things we don't have. President Kennedy said before the UN in '64, we use today's technology to control the weather. Elite Air Force document came out in 1997. Weather was a false multiplier, controlling the weather by 2025. Now, this is easy to find out, so here's the question.
I'll definitely do my research.
Yeah, here's the question. With all this documentation plainly, we can see
Why is it never brought up on either side of the climate change argument? The skeptics or the people that believe in global warming and climate change. It's because they want to go ahead and when they're screw-ups, when they change the weather, the anomalies on the weather, and if they screw up, they can blame us. They can go, oh, it's you. You're the fault. You're the one who's got carbon footprints. We got to lower your standard of living. More control by them. Charge you more for less. More control, more money for them. So it's all about control. It has nothing to do with the climate, the weather. If that were true, Obama wouldn't be buying a $15 million mansion in the Hamptons.
Well, we gotta go, but thank you for talking to me.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you very much for listening. You're very intuitive questions. I mean, you're very good. Thank you very much.
Both sides. I don't like to judge people. I like to know both sides.
I love you for it. I love you for it. I think you're great.
You guys have a nice day.
All right.
So, was I right about that young lady? Yeah, I think so. I think she'll do all right. I think she'll do all right. If she looks up some of the things I talked about, it might, help to draw her away and become even more independent rather than being drawn into that liberal bullshit. All right, again, God bless you. Thanks for stopping by. Remember to pray for me out there on the streets, and I'll see you on the streets.